Hey guys, Scott here. Wanted to do a video of one of my favorite drills. I call this the perfect position drill. I learned this from Jerry Bryzath back in 2000 or 2001 during my time with him in Wisconsin. He's one of the top instructors in the country, and I highly recommend his instructional series if you're interested in improving your game. It's not as good as getting private lessons from him, but you'll definitely benefit from the DVDs. This drill, along with the 15 ball drill, which I just did a video of not that long ago, I recommend these to most of my students, and I believe they're both simple drills to set up, simple, seemingly simple to execute, but if done correctly and with the rules and caveats that are part of the drills, I believe you will show huge improvements in your game. And they both are also great ways to kind of self-diagnose different areas of your game. I'm going to talk through the drill as I demonstrate it, but I wanted to set it up a little bit beforehand. Essentially, you want to throw out a certain number of balls. We'll get into that in the video. Take ball in hand and run them in order. So in this sense, it's very similar to playing the Ghost, where you're keeping score. If you execute, you get 1. If you miss, you get 0. So again, I'll get into some of that as we go through the video. And so for now, let's just get into it. Okay, we're going to start off with the simplest version of the drill with 3 balls. I like to start everybody out on this level and at least do an assessment, even if they think they're better than doing it with 3 balls. I want to see them do it. Typically, a better student will knock out 5 out of 5 right off the bat, and we can quickly move on to 4 balls. But this 3 ball version is great for learning the sequencing that we want to use when we're playing 9 or 10 ball. The 3 ball sequencing, where basically you have shape on first ball, and you're trying to figure out how to get position on the second ball that then leads to the third ball. And in that manner, when we run a rack, we're basically looking at the 1, 2, 3, then the 2, 3, 4, then the 3, 4, 5, etc. Occasionally looking beyond that if there's some issues or problems. I want to mention that when you're working with beginners, or if you are a beginner and you're doing this drill, you can certainly have the 3 balls land in the bottom or top half of the table. Kind of do this as a half ball exercise, but I'm going to be demonstrating the full table version of this for this video. Restricting it to the half table just sort of helps to minimize some of the cue ball movement and work on small and medium position play as opposed to incorporating the longer position play too. So I knocked those 2 out. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the 4 ball version of this drill and demonstrate a few more things. When you throw the balls out, this is not a shot making or cluster breaking exercise. So if it lands near the side pocket like that, where it's frozen in a really tough spot, move it. If it lands clustered up like that, move it. Just, again, if you're playing the Ghost, then you have to work on the shot making and breaking up clusters and all of that. But for the purpose of this, we're working on perfect position patterns. So I'm going to show you now, this is a really important key part of the drill, what to do when you miss. I missed that ball on purpose, by the way, just in case you were wondering. And so this will not count. The Ghost or whatever gets the point, not me. But for me to learn from this drill, I need to set everything back up, shoot the ball again. If I miss position, I need to set the ball back up and try to get position properly. Here's another key point. If you miss it twice, here's what I do personally. Now, I realize there's a problem. It's not just I had a blip in concentration, like I shot the shot poorly twice. So I'm going to go grab 3 to 5 balls out of the rack, and I'm going to shoot it 3 to 5 more times at least. And I'm going to try to learn to hit the shot properly and figure out what I did wrong, whether it was making the ball or getting position, or both. Okay, so I'm going to basically shoot this until I feel comfortable. I want to leave this rack with a positive result stored in my brain. So the next time I see a shot like that on a table, I know what speed and what spin and everything to use to make the ball and get shape on a similar shot. Okay, so I did that 3 times. Give the thumbs up. I'm happy. Again, this would not count. Normally I would grab the balls and throw them back out for my next attempt. But for purposes of this, I want to demonstrate a few more ways that you can quote unquote miss when you are doing this drill. And these are, again, very important stipulations. Where I just drew that circle, that is where I'm playing shape for. That's where I sent the other 3 balls that I redid. In this particular shot, I hit the ball a little too hard. Could I bank the 7 and get shape on the 9? I could. Lower percentage shot does not count. If I do that during the drill, that is a 0. That does not count. That attempt is over. I can reshoot the shot if I want and learn, but that is a done deal. Here's another great example. I hit above the 7 ball. I was not intending to go there. I got shape, but I wasn't trying to get shape there. It does not count. Again, perfect position drill. Remember that. If I bump into a ball and then bounce off a rail and happen to get perfect shape, it does not count. You have to be honest with yourself and you have to be stringent with the drill. When you add that caveat of getting perfect position and staying in line, there are many, many good players that I know that would not be able to execute this drill successfully to the level that they think they could because of those stipulations. You really have to be very strong with your cue ball control and your focus. So now we're going to move on to the 6-ball version of the drill, which is what I typically do. Typically with 6 balls, I'm 13, 14, 15 out of 20. I've done it 16 out of 20. Don't remember doing it more than that ever. So I sometimes will do the 7-ball version of this drill just for a little more of a challenge, but honestly, I'm kind of in that 6-7 range. I believe Jerry said that even professionals have a hard time doing this with 7 balls 20 times and doing it 16 out of 20 because of the added stipulations. Okay, this is a good example here. So this shot, if I had stopped a foot shorter, I probably would not have counted it. But because I got close to the middle of the table and I have a reasonable cut angle on this and I know how to play position for the 9, I counted it. I continue my run. Again, I'm not trying to get literally perfect within a dime on every single shot. Just reasonable shots that are at least an 80% probability that you're going to make the ball and get position. You don't want to be shooting a lot of 30 or 40 or 50% shots. You want to kind of stay in that 90 to 95 range. Ideally, occasionally you're going to be a little longer than you intended or a little more angle than you intended, but that's okay. That's reality. You also have to learn to hit kind of those recovery shots where you get back in line immediately after that shot. So now I'm on to my second attempt. And again, take your time on this. Go through your pre-shot routine. Treat it like you're in a game. Use the last 4 or 5 balls consistently. I just kind of throw them out randomly, but use the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or the 7, 8, 9, whatever version of the drill you're using. That way you get used to shooting that case game 9 ball over and over and over again too. Some people have some issues with nervousness on that ball, so that can help too. Okay, again, came a little short here. Would have liked to have been maybe 6 inches more. I was a little scared of the side pocket, so I underhit the ball a little. But taking my time, I'm evaluating my options here. I have 2 or 3 options to get shape on the 5, and I'm just trying to pick out the one that I think is the simplest, most consistent. And then once I decide, I'm going to get down and execute the shot. And you can see when I hit this, I didn't overhit it. It wasn't a crazy shot. It wasn't difficult. So I get back in line and everything's fine. So again, when I get to a point where I'm honest with myself and I think I am less than 75 or 80% to make the ball, that's where I call it quits and relearn the shot and then move on to the next rack. So I hit this shot, not as I wanted to use a little tad more outside English on it, and hit it a little too much. And again, that still counts. I didn't scratch. If I did, I would not have counted it. Would have had to shoot it again. But certainly wouldn't have been a bad idea, even though I counted it, to maybe shoot the shot again. But okay, so now if I was keeping score, that would be 2-0. I got a little flat on that ball, had to punch it a little bit, but again, that's okay as long as you execute it properly. So when you have a layout like this, one thing to mention, right? Everything kind of leads to everything else. Pretty simple. Just focus on making the ball. You shouldn't be shooting the ball hard. No reason to punch anything. Should be just nice and smooth. I can't tell you how many times I've messed this up, and I've seen people mess stuff like this up. But the only way you can really mess this up is to get straight in on the 9 and like on the rail, or way underneath the 9 against the bottom rail there. I mean, so just make the ball. You got a huge area to get in. Just don't make a silly mistake. Do whatever you can to stay away from this silly mistake. It's so easy to get a little funky on the 9 or the 10 where next thing you know you don't get out. So don't be overconfident. Don't be rushing to the finish line. Take your time and don't make that silly mistake. Okay, so this is coming back to me a little now, so not to spoil it for you, but I'm about to make a mistake here. Ironically, I did the right thing. I'm looking at the shot from several different angles. I think the 6 and the 8 were both bothering me, taking away some of my paths that I wanted to get to from the 3 to the 5. And I was looking. I had an idea where I wanted the cue ball, what kind of angle I wanted to get on the 5, but for some reason when I went to hit it, I had a lot of thoughts rolling through my head, I remember, and I didn't execute very well. So again, could I cut the 3 in still and get shape on the 5? I could. Probably two different ways that I can see right now. However, I crossed the line to where that was like a 45, 50, 60 degree back cut. That was not acceptable. It's not where I was trying to get, so that does not count. So I'm following my own advice. I'm setting the shot up again, and now I'm going to get to where that was where I wanted to get originally. So normally here I would just throw the balls out and start over. I think I shot this ball. I was trying to really, really spin the ball and come down 3 rails underneath the 5, and I didn't even hit it hard enough to do that. I was just messing around, which probably not a great idea to do if you're being serious about the drill. But so anyways, you can see I'm throwing the balls out. I'm relocating 1 or 2 of the balls just so that the layout's a little different. So I did it 3 times successfully and 1 miss. So now the score would be 3-1. After a miss, it's important to regroup and refocus. I did this drill one time. I had 10 or 11 perfect from the start. So I had like 60 to 66 balls I shot perfectly and stayed in line. And my mind, I had visions of finally finishing the drill as 17, 18 out of 20 when my previous best was 15 or 16. And I promptly missed about 5 racks in a row. And instead of the score being 14-1 or 15-0, it was 10-5. And I don't even think I got to 14 on that drill. So don't start thinking ahead. It's again, this is so I love this drill so much. It perfectly mimics what happens to us in a game where we start thinking about the score of the match or that we're about to win a match instead of focusing on the task at hand, which is executing each shot to the best of our ability. Got a little flat on this. Again, in my opinion, this is still within an 80% range. Again, if I had been a little bit flatter, I probably wouldn't have counted it. Yeah, I remember this too. This is almost sickening. I'm not even sure what I did here. I'm going to see if I can watch, but yeah, wow. So, not a super strong finish there, but a finish nonetheless. If you look at the 6-ball version that I was demonstrating, I finished 4-1 in this small sample size. If you extrapolate that out to a full set of 20, I would be 16-4. And if I was able to do that over several practice sessions, several days, then I would feel comfortable adding a 7th ball into the mix. I think I mentioned earlier, typically would be around 13 to 15 with the 6-ball version of the drill. So not quite at the proficiency level where it makes sense to add that 7th ball in. And I would recommend you do the same. Don't be in a hurry to jump levels. You actually lose a little value in the drill, I believe, if you skip ahead too quickly. Make sure you master the level you're at before you move on to the next. I really do love this drill. I give it to many of my students along with the 15 ball across the middle drill. I think between those two drills, they form a great foundation and it should be incorporated in as a regular part of your practice routine. Thanks for watching. I definitely appreciate any comments or questions you might have, so feel free to message me on Facebook or contact me. My information's on my website. You can contact me through email, phone, call, text, whatever's easiest. Again, I welcome any comments or questions you might have or suggestions for new videos. I plan on continuing to update the articles and videos on my website, so check back frequently to look for those. Once again, appreciate it, and until next time, thanks.